A very good morning to you, our viewers out there. You are on to Dateline with Abuja Original Inhabitant, a program that spotlights issues that affect original Abuja inhabitants across the 6 area council, across the 18 chiefdom, as well as across the 62 political ward in the FCT. I am Adefolayan Olamilekun, the host of this program, and this program is proudly brought to you by SADC with the support from Makoto Foundation and Crescent. Well, in today's discussion, we'll be looking at a recent program that SADC has just unveiled, that is drafting code of conduct and best practices for MDAs that will allow for employment and empowerment of original Abuja inhabitants. And already in my studio, my guest for today is going to help us to analyze and put a spotlight on the issue of drafting a code of conduct as well as best practices for MDAs in the FCT. And as usual, my guest is Opeyemi Ismail, and he is a research consultant. Opeyemi.
Good morning, Mr. Adefolayan. It's nice to be here with you today.
Thanks for coming. Yeah. All right. And Opeyemi has to be someone that I've known very well back in University of Abuja doing our undergraduate program as well as in our postgraduate program. And as you can see, he's now a research consultant. And he was one of the ones that unveiled the validity of that particular draft of conduct for SADC some days back. So Opeyemi will be shedding light on the aspect of the code of conduct and what it entails, what are the benefits, and when there be any challenge for organization not to comply with it, will be telling us about it. So to start with, Opeyemi, when someone meets you on the road and asks you what is code of conduct, what do you have to say to that person?
Mr. Adefolayan, thank you very much. I'm actually impressed when I got to know about the code and standard of practice for administration of empowerment interventions for persons within the FCT. It's an effort in the right direction, and I must say, it's also a way to actually get value for the money that government spend yearly on empowerment interventions on persons, and also to avoid some of the failures that we experience in some of the intervention programs and projects across the country at large and in FCT in particular. So looking at our yearly budget in the country, you realize that we have a large amount of money allocated to empowerment intervention across sectors. It could be health, it could be education, it could be infrastructure, it could be capacity building and all. So, but then the impact of those money, you look at how much the money is and the level of impact it's having in the lives of the people of FCT in particular, you'll be amazed to say, why is it happening like this? So a standard of practice like SADC has actually validated and come up with in some days back is going to add value to that, and is going to avoid and cut certain costs, unnecessary costs in the implementation of empowerment intervention. It's more like a standard of practice. I mean, you are setting the standard of implementation, designing implementation, monitoring, evaluation, and even the sustainability of some of these empowerment intervention. Yes, so that's what that code is all about.
Now, in another way, many people will say, okay, when code have been drafted and it's expected that people who draft it and people who are drafted it for carry it to a later time. But also know that in essence, the gains of this kind of practice or whatever you call it a code, it could be limited if the stakeholders are not jointly carried along. So in this particular experience, how have they carried along in ensuring the drafting takes place?
Oh, thank you. I was going to say that before I stopped earlier. So what happened? The methodology we adopted for the drafting of that particular code was actually very inclusive and collaborative, because we actually work with concerned MDAs, in fact, federal institutions, and even the FCT agencies that implement empowerment projects in the country. And what that does for the code itself is the sense of belonging that it gives to some of these MDAs to say, oh, we are part of the process and we are actually going to own it, because you cannot own what you don't participate in. And looking at what we did 3 days ago when we validated the report, a lot of those MDAs were actually present there to validate with us. So that's also one of the success stories that we can actually refer to whenever we talk about that. And they are all happy that we come up with this kind of code. because it's also going to help them in the implementation of their
Exactly.
project. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, a straight question is this: who are the target beneficiary of this code that SADC have put in place, and you also, I believe you are part and parcel of it in general. Yes. So who are the target audience that are going to benefit from it?
Okay, well, the beneficiaries are in categories. The first level of beneficiary will be the MDAs, because you're actually helping them to do their work better. And the second level of beneficiary will be the people, original inhabitants of the FCT, because they are going to, if MDA work with those codes, it's going to impact on the lives of the original inhabitants in terms of more jobs opportunity, in terms of more access to knowledge, capacity building, and all sorts of other empowerment intervention projects and programs that might come up after the commencement of the implementation of this particular program. So it depends on how well the agency work with that particular code. For instance, now, before the usage of this code, for instance, let's say #1 million can actually empower, let's say, 10 people. I can assure you that if all the processes and procedures within the code is actually followed to the letter, you can actually get 20 people to be empowered with the same amount of money. So it's going to cut unnecessary costs, like I said earlier, and that way, in a ripple effect of that is that more persons are going to benefit from empowerment program and opportunities that come with intervention.
Now, another issue I know most of our viewers who normally call into this program normally ask, okay, we talk about empowerment, talk about employment, we talk about empowerment, we talk about employment. With this recent development from SADC with a draft code of conduct for best practices, what way will it even improve employment? If you understand what I'm trying to say, okay, we need to help people to get employment. I know Nigerians, when they hear employment, it's like getting them a job in the government sector or getting them a job in the federal structure. So, how will it improve employment?
So just to be clear, that government cannot do it alone.
Exactly.
And that's why we have private sector, we have the other people within the economy that contributes to the development of our economy by creating jobs opportunities. We have private sector that, in fact, government is not the highest employer of labor in the country.
It's true.
So if you accept that, then you know that SMEs, small and medium scale enterprise, are one of those very strategic engine room of employment creation and generation within the country. So if you build capacity of individuals, let's say on skill acquisition, on different sector of the economy, it could be technology, it could be in anything, you build capacity of people, the expectation is that that person is going to get established and employ people to work with him. And in another way, that person can also set up, let's say, a training center and say, I want to start training people to build more capacity to see how we can generate more employment within our economy. And that's the ripple effect of capacity empowerment intervention. The ideal empowerment intervention, not the one that you just wake up today and say, I want to empower people, and you just do it maybe for political reasons without evaluating what level of impact that kind of intervention can actually make. But in simple terms, those people that their capacity are being built as a result of empowerment intervention can actually go out there to employ more people, to work with them in order to earn a living. And while they are doing that, other people are also developing their own capacity while working with them, and also that's how it goes and goes and goes, and people get empowered. And
now, for our viewers out there, you are on to This Line with Abuja Original Inhabitant, a program probably brought to you by SADC. SADC is Socio-Economic Research Development Center based in Abuja, one of the 10 cohort organizations under Crescent and Makoto support and funding to carry out certain activities in the FCT. SADC, for instance, is engaged in empowerment and participation. That is their core thematic area of engagement within the FCT, and they have been doing a lot. Just 2 weeks ago, we talked about the training they had, capacity building they had for OIs in Abuja, and just 2 days ago, they also unveiled a document, draft code of conduct and best practices for MDA, so that employment and participation by OIs will be more validated and it will more improve. And that's why I have in the studio today my guest, Ismail Okoyemi, who is a research consultant, who has also participated in the unveiling as well as in the putting together this document we are discussing today. And I know very soon the document will be made public, and we're also going to talk more. And I know Okoyemi will be here to also shed more light on it. And now, one key questions viewers will also want to know is this. When we say employment, it has been settled from what we have discussed so far. In putting together this document, what were the challenges? Because I know there will definitely be a challenge, there will definitely be resistance by a certain set of people or group of people who say, no, we don't need code of conduct. We have a lot of documents already that from the federal government, from state government, that have already helping us to know what to do. But with this, again, what were the challenges?
Well, in fact, the major challenge was where MDA see civil society organizations like they are coming to antagonize them. But then,
that's serious.
But then we're able to address that by letting them know that we are actually partners in progress. We are coming to help them do their work better, and exposing them to the objective of that particular code. I mean, that particular assignment. We're able to get their support and their availability and readiness to support in the drafting of that particular code. So it depends on the approach of consultants a lot of time, and the way you present issues to people. You know, their perception error there. So people already have a perception that MDAs and civil society organizations are supposed to be cat and rat, you get. But then when you made them understand that we are actually supposed to be working together to achieve a Nigeria of our dream, the Nigeria that we want, then you'll be able to say that we'll be able to get people to work with and be able to achieve a lot working together. So we didn't really have much except that, and we're able to address it in good time.
Okay. Now, another question people want to do is that we have pointed out the target audience, target beneficiary, you know, the core aspect of it, what this code of conduct or drafted code of conduct and best practice we're going to attract. And again, we also make us understand, although there are challenges, but at least you guys have a way of managing it, and it wasn't that too expository to cause more problem for what you are going to do. But the funding aspect, if someone wants to know, carrying out this kind of draft code conduct, does it take much money? Does it run into billions of naira? Or does it take few money, just put some expert together? And so share your experience with us on that aspect.
Yeah, like you know that definitely we'll spend money to achieve this thing, because there will be logistic cost, and also you as a consultant, you want to take an honorarium for say this is what I do, and I should at least. But then all in all, it's not a lot of money that you say is so big that organizations like SEDEC, as a result of their support from Makato Foundation, cannot afford to. And also looking at how important this particular code is to the life of the people of the original inhabitant of FCT, there is no amount of money you spend that will be too much to actually achieve that. So fairly, it's not a lot of money. It's just something to address one or two logistic issues, and also to pay staff that work with us on that. Yeah.
Now, another thing I want us to also look at is, because you know, SADC has been trying. I said earlier, they just finished carrying out capacity training for people in the entire 6 area council of FCT. Now they're also unveiling a draft code of conduct for best practice for MDAs. And in this regard, you know, there's one thing to draft a code of conduct. There's another thing to comply with it, to implement it. Do you think these MDAs, at the end of the day, will comply with it, will fulfill their own gesture on making sure that this particular code of conduct will not end up on the shelf? Meaning that, would they be able to implement it when time arrives?
Well, they will be able to implement, because looking at the capacity and competence that SEDEC has built over the years, even among the implementing partners on this Makato Foundation funds, they are one of the most capacitated organizations that I can assure that they've been working with different MDAs in the past, and that will actually help them to actually advocate for the adoption and the usage of this particular code in empowerment intervention. So SADC has all it takes to advocate and to convince MDAs to adopt this and work with this. So I don't see it as a problem actually, because SADC has been doing it, and they will also achieve in doing it. They will also
now, for our viewers, especially the OIs themselves that are watching this program, because this program comes their way or your way on the airwave of AII TV and independent television, as well as the radio section, Independent Radio 89.7 FM. They want to know. IOIs want to know, will this really reduce unemployment in FCT?
Yeah.
Do you think it will reduce unemployment in FCT?
Yeah, I believe it will reduce unemployment in FCT because already the projects that SEDEC and other partners are implementing has actually added value to the lives of original inhabitants of FCT. I personally been working with persons from of FCT extraction for quite a number of years. I have them as in my respective corner, and I know the impact this particular project has had in their lives in terms of their capacity, their awareness, the sensitization that the project has actually come up with, how it has impacted in their lives. Because there is virtually nothing you can do without information.
It's true.
And when you have that adequate information to say, oh, this is what is wrong with our system, you will be able to prefer a solution to address some of those things. And I believe also we start from information, and from information now I've actually seen where original inhabitants started making demands to their representatives across board. And where that is leading is that whenever you make demands, definitely there will be response to it.
It's true.
It's just a law of like demand and supply. It's a system that you have to make demands for you to actually receive actions or inactions to certain requests that you've made as a people. So looking at the system, if you are somebody that actually have passion for justice, you know that the cause the original inhabitants are actually demanding for is actually a just cause. So then people in the right thinking, the right sense of thinking will actually know that, oh, we need to respond to all this. And that's definitely going to impact on the level of employment and employability within the system.
Exactly. And now for our viewers out there, you have been watching Dateline with Abuja Original Inhabitant, a program proudly brought to you by SADC Socio-Economic Research Development Center based in Abuja. Every Friday by 9 a.m. I will come on your airwave and we showcase and analyze issues affecting original Abuja inhabitants, as well as effort of SADC and its supporters in terms of funding in trying to address some of these things, and particularly to draw government attention to some of the effort of government that is having challenges. There is no way that federal government have not done anything to original. They have been doing, but it has never been enough. And that's why organizations like SADC come in between to see what they can do to cover the gap and also draw government attention to better best practices of how to bring about employment in the FCT, particularly empowering them. As Okoyemi said earlier, government cannot alone provide all the jobs. At least with this effort that SADC is putting out through there, they can be able to bring opportunity for these OIs. And this program come your way 9 a.m. on the TV section, and by 10:30 a.m. we also have the radio section. My guest will also feature on that radio section, where you also need to answer some of the questions I'm going to put across to him on this draft code of conduct and best practices for MDAs in the FCT. I am Adefola Olamide, I've been your host today. And before we go, because we still have some few minutes before we round up, before my producer will start asking me to round up, is this: looking at what SADC has been doing over the years for the OIs, how has been the impact on OIs particularly? And this is what I mean. They have been carrying out capacity building, they have been engaging them politically, they have been ensuring that the economic justice of the OIs are also being affected. So all this put together, how do you see this project impacting the OIs?
Okay, for those ones I'm aware of, I know that a lot of indigenous organizations are also involved in this project. And if we are talking about capacity building, there are also levels to it. When you are building individual capacity, there's a possibility. In fact, indirectly you build organization capacity, because people are drawn from different organizations to participate in some capacity building. So then you are indirectly building the capacity of organization, and in a way also building the capacity of the community. And that's what that does for the community at large. Is the community would tend to develop. In fact, you just have to develop, because you already built the knowledge, the competence. Then you have to work to see how you can attract investment, attract different opportunities for your people, both the young persons and women within the communities. And I've seen a lot of young people actually in the last 6 months. I've seen a lot of young people actually getting employed, getting opportunities to work in different organizations across board, both at the federal, at the state level and the local government level, and even in the private sector. Exactly. And they are actually making impact in those levels. So when you build capacity, That's the first layer of development. When you build capacity of people, educate them and let them know that, oh, this is the level at which you can get to as a person. Then you have actually the zeal, the passion will actually automatically come up, and you can't limit the level that person can grow to.
Exactly.
So that's what we've been seeing in FCT.
And I will say for fact, SADC has been trying in the area of capacity building for the OIs because they need it. Although there could be challenge here and there, but there have been inroads of SADC programs across FCT. Now, as someone who has been very close to the OIs themselves, what advice do you have for let's start with the boys, the young male FCT OIs, because a lot of them will tell you that there is no opportunity, but as you are speaking, as if there's a light at the end of the tunnel for them. So what advice do you have for the young male adult of FCT?
So number one is collaboration. We actually, as young people, even beyond even the indigenous people, collaborate with different persons that you know they are going to have value to your lives. And I've seen a lot of them doing that. I personally have worked, like I mentioned, I've worked with a number of them. In fact, after this program, I'm still going to meet some of my friends of the FCT extraction to do a couple of things together. So collaboration is very key because it exposes you to what is happening elsewhere and for you to be able to adopt and domesticate within the FCT system. And also, because the FCT, original inhabitants of FCT, cannot do it alone. I actually believe they can do it alone. You need to work with different persons across board to actually achieve the kind of justice, social justice that you require as a person, so as a people. So that's why I say collaboration is very, very important. And also, they should always look for opportunity anywhere. With every challenges, there is actually an opportunity.
Exactly.
So, and again, whenever issues has happened, anything has happened, they should stop to make demands. Demand is very key. They say a closed mouth is a closed destiny.
Exactly.
So if you are open, if you make demands continuously, at least somebody will come one day and they say, oh, these people has been yearning and aspiring for this particular thing, let me actually do it for them. So those are my advice for my friends, my colleagues in the struggle of FCT extraction, that we should collaborate more and we should also make ourselves available for opportunity whenever it comes.
Right, not for the young guys, and because I know you know some of them. Now, for the women and young girls, what's your advice for them? Because them, sometimes they normally restrict themselves. Not the culture, not the norms restrict them, but some way, somehow, some of them restrict themselves from coming forward. So what would be your advice to women and young girls?
So for the women that have actually grown and are successful, I would advise that they should look for young people with potentials and capacity and mentor them, because by mentoring them, they are having more persons to come and join them at the top, because we have limited women up there, so we need more girls to grow up to be successful women in society. So I mean, for the successful one within the FCT, they should identify talents among the young women and mentor them to be great people within the society. And when they are winding up and say they are leaving that particular state, they have people to come there to replace them. And for the young people, young girls too, is also my advice to them is to be focused and committed to whatever they believe in, because whether you like it or not, interest is the number one thing. If you don't have interest in a particular thing, then you can't be focused and committed to that particular struggle. Number one is for them to be focused and committed to whatever they believe in, and I believe the sky is actually their limit.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Ismail Okpeyemi. He's been my guest today. He's a research consultant and someone that I've known back then in University of Abuja doing our undergraduate and doing our postgraduate study. Okpeyemi, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And for our viewers out there, I quickly want to say that this program will still come your way next week, Friday, by the grace of God. And by 10:30 a.m. right this morning, we are going to have the radio section. Okpeyemi will still be there to discuss some of these issues that were raised, which is about OIs, original Abuja inhabitants. They are spread across the 6 area council. They were spread across the 19 chiefdom in FCT, as well as the 64 political ward across FCT. So what SADC is doing through this TV program and the video program is to spotlight issues that affect them and see how they can cover the gaps of some of the effort that government have been putting in place, but it's not yet enough. I am Edifolarin Olamilekun. Until we come your way next week on this same show and on this same channel, have a great weekend.